Where did you get this bracelet? Who is he? Matt!
I can explain. Please, it's not what it looks like.
Matt always thought his marriage was a fortress, built on years of shared history and mutual affection. His wife, Lavara, was once the center of his world, warm, attentive, and deeply connected to him. But over time, a subtle frost began to creep into their home. The warmth in her eyes faded, replaced by a distant, almost vacant look. She stopped asking about his day, the small ritual that once anchored their evenings. Her gaze would slide past his, avoiding any real connection. The evenings she spent away from home grew more frequent, with work being the constant excuse. Matt tried to push down the rising tide of doubt, clinging to the trust they had built over the years. But the feeling that something was wrong became a heavy weight in his chest. One morning, that weight solidified into a cold, hard knot in his stomach. While cleaning out the car, he found a bracelet tucked under the passenger seat. It was unfamiliar, a delicate silver chain he'd never seen before. It wasn't his daughter's, and it definitely wasn't Laura's style. He held it in his palm, the metal feeling cold against his skin, a stark symbol of a secret he couldn't yet name. He said nothing, hiding the bracelet and his growing fear. He wanted so desperately to be wrong, to believe there was a simple, innocent explanation. But the days that followed only deepened the chasm between them. Laura's coldness intensified. His attempts to talk, to bridge the gap, were met with sighs and dismissive waves of her hand. The tension was so thick, even their young daughters could feel it. "Why has Mom gone so much?" they would ask, their innocent questions like little daggers to his heart. He would offer gentle, vague answers, shielding them from the storm brewing within him. He felt like he was living a double life, the calm, reassuring father on the outside, and a man consumed by worry on the inside. Finally, pushed to a point he never thought he'd reach, he did something that felt like a betrayal in itself. He installed a small, discreet tracking app on her phone. He hated himself for it, for the mistrust it represented, but the not knowing was eating him alive. The app didn't take long to confirm his worst fears. The blinking dot on the map showed her not at her office building late at night, but at a bar downtown, then at a residential address he didn't recognize. His heart didn't just sink, it plummeted. The truth was no longer a suspicion, but a reality he had to face. With a heavy heart, Matt contacted a private investigator. He needed concrete proof, something he couldn't deny or explain away. The investigator was professional and efficient, moving quietly in the background of their crumbling life. Within a few days, the report landed in his inbox. The pictures, the dates, the times, it was all there. Lavra was having an affair. The man's name was Scott. Seeing it in black and white was like a physical blow. Betrayal and humiliation washed over him in waves. He replayed their marriage in his mind, searching for the moment the fracture began, wondering why she couldn't have just talked to him. He felt lost, adrift in a sea of pain. His only anchor was his daughters. He focused on their routines, their laughter, their needs, using his love for them as a shield against the agony. One afternoon, the digital world delivered another blow. As Lavra sat on the couch, her phone lit up with a message. He caught the name on the screen, Scott. She didn't see him notice. She just smiled at her phone, a private, happy smile that he hadn't seen directed at him in years. The sight of it was more painful than 1,000 arguments. That night he tried to confront her gently, carefully. "Lavar, is everything okay? You seem so distant." She immediately went on the defensive, her voice sharp. "I'm fine. You're just being paranoid. It's your insecurities talking." Her denial, her gaslighting, was the final confirmation. She wasn't just hiding something. She was willing to make him feel crazy to protect it. The investigator's final report arrived, complete with photos that were impossible to misinterpret. There was Lavra, walking hand in hand with Scott, laughing with a carefree joy that had been absent from their home for so long. Looking at those images, Matt felt something inside him shatter irrevocably. The love, the hope, the desire to fix things, it all just broke. A cold clarity washed over him. He wasn't just a husband anymore. He was a father who needed to protect his children. He immediately contacted a lawyer who advised him to be methodical, gather evidence, document everything. So he did. He saved screenshots of messages, logged her unexplained absences, and started looking into their finances. That's when he discovered the next layer of her betrayal. Lavra had been secretly moving money from their joint accounts into a private one. She wasn't just leaving him for another man. She was planning to gut their shared life and take far more than her fair share, leaving him and the girls in a precarious position. Armed with this knowledge, his lawyer moved quickly, legally freezing the accounts. When Lavar found out, the explosion was nuclear. The cold, distant woman was replaced by a furious stranger. She screamed at him, accusing him of being a controlling monster, of trying to ruin her life and her one chance at happiness. And then, finally, the admission came spat out with venom. "Yes, I'm seeing someone. I deserve to feel alive, to have some excitement." There was no apology, no remorse, just entitlement. As he listened to her tirade, Matt realized the woman he married was gone. She didn't care about him, their history, or the family they had built. She only cared about herself. The atmosphere at home became unbearable. Lavra was barely there, and when she was, the air crackled with hostility. The girls clung to Matt, their small hands seeking reassurance he struggled to give. Rumors started to ripple through their neighborhood. Friends and neighbors would ask him if he was okay, their eyes filled with pity he didn't want. He held his head high, determined to maintain his dignity for his daughters. Meanwhile, the exciting new relationship seemed to be imploding. Scott's behavior grew erratic. Matt would overhear snippets of Laura's frantic phone calls, loud, angry arguments filled with accusations. The passionate affair was crumbling under the pressure of reality. Then, one weekend, Lavara made a reckless, desperate move. She picked up the girls for her scheduled time and then simply vanished, leaving Matt only a cold, brief text saying they were going away for a break. Panic seized him. He called the girls, and their uneasy voices on the other end of the line terrified him. They whispered that Mom was crying and Scott was yelling at her. That was it. The line had been crossed. He called his lawyer, who immediately filed an emergency motion for custody. In court, Matt presented his case calmly and rationally. The photos, the financial records, the tracking data, the threatening nature of the new boyfriend, the evidence was overwhelming. Lavra tried to fight back, painting Matt as the villain, but her claims were wild and unsubstantiated. The judge saw right through the lies. In a firm, clear decision, the court ordered the children to be returned to Matt's sole care immediately, granting him temporary custody and Lavra only supervised visits. She stood there, stunned into silence, tears of confusion streaming down her face. Scott, the source of all this chaos, vanished from the picture as soon as the legal trouble started. Lavra, now alone and facing the consequences of her actions, offered a weak, half-hearted apology, but Matt remained firm. He went and brought his daughters home. The moment they stepped back into their own house, you could feel the collective sigh of relief. The tension that had choked their home for months finally began to dissipate. Peace, fragile at first, slowly returned. The divorce was finalized and Lavra quietly moved away. For the first time in a very long time, Matt felt the heavy weight lift from his shoulders. He was free. Free from the pain, the lies, and the betrayal. He looked at his two beautiful daughters and he knew they would be okay. They would rebuild their lives, just the three of them, on a new foundation of honesty, stability, and love. Thanks for watching. If you've ever faced a difficult situation like this, remember you're not alone. Please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories.